Hello, this is Theresa Forsyth with StampinWithTheresa.com. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the U.S., located in Bothell, Washington. Today I want to go through a couple cards as a tutorial that's available along with detailed PDF instructions following up from my Facebook Live, which I recorded this morning at on January 4th. And we've got 3 cards we're making today. We're making this thank you card that's a simple stamping, Stampin' Up's campaign, hashtag simple stamping, which is ink, paper, and glue, adhesive, scissors, things like that. Here's a stepped up version of that card, and then another card which is a case of a card we made at the Stampin' Up! Event this year on stage. So let's go ahead and get started. We are using the Peaceful Poppies suite in our annual catalog. Let me give you a quick look real quick before we get started at what this suite entails. This is the suite, and it's got a lot of very beautiful colors. In fact, it includes 9 Stampin' Up! Colors in this set of designer series paper, the Peaceful Poppies paper, including Poppy Parade, Calypso Coral, Flirty Flamingo, Crushed Curry, Old Olive, Mossy Meadow, Pool Party, Rich Razzleberry, and Blackberry Bliss. This is a mega suite, meaning that it includes 2 bundles. We've got the Painted Poppies bundle, which includes a beautiful stamp set. I'll turn the page to show you a little bit more. The stamp set and the painted labels dies. You can buy them separately, or you can buy them together and save 10%. The other bundle it includes is the Peaceful Moments and the Poppy Moments dies. Let me show you up close a little bit more about what this suite looks like. Here, I went ahead and put together a little kind of sheet that shows the front and back of all of the papers. This Peaceful Poppies Designer Series paper pack has 12 sheets, which is 2 each of 6 double-sided papers. So here are the 6 papers, and then side 1 and side 2. And again, here are the colors that are included in that suite. Oops, sorry. Let me show you quickly the Painted Poppies bundle. This is the stamp set, and this is the die set. In fact, these 2 items are actually cut out with dies, and I stamped them and then cut them out because those dies actually coordinate with the things in the stamp set and that leaf too. So there's 3 coordinating dies for the images in this set, along with these beautiful labels and accents. The other bundle we mentioned is the Peaceful Moments bundle, which has the Poppy Moments dies, which is really beautiful set that can do paper piecing to make these gorgeous flowers. And then this is kind of a inset kind of filigree thing that can make a nice accent. You could even trim it out if you wanted to. And then the Peaceful Moments stamp set. We're actually going to be using the stamp set on 2 of the cards today, along with the Painted Poppies. We're using the Painted Poppies stamp set on all 3 cards, and we're going to feature a celebration set for the sentiment for the last card we're going to do. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and get started with this project. So the first thing we have, this is our easiest project we have. So we've got a Poppy Parade card base, which is cut at 5.5 inches this way by 11 inches this way, and scored at 4 1/4 to make a side folding card. I'm creasing it with the bone folder. I'm going to turn this around actually. Okay, I cut out a piece of Whisper White cardstock that's going to go right here, and this is cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and then I cut out a piece of the Designer Series paper that is cut at 4 and 5 1/4 as well, and we're going to just stamp a sentiment on this and glue it here for a very simple but very beautiful card that anyone would love to receive. So here we go. And by the way, you don't need to memorize the dimensions that I'm mentioning here because the PDF is available. You can download it from my website, and it's got all the dimensions and directions. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the stamp set. Oops, sorry. This is the stamp set, and we are going to use, oh, I'm sorry. This is not the stamp set we're using on this one. This one we're not using images. We're using peaceful moments. And I'm going to make this card into a thank you card. We're going to use that sentiment right there. I really like the fun typeface they used for this set. So I'm going to grab a block. See if this one's big enough. I think it is. Yep. Okay, and we're using the Poppy Parade. I am going to grab a piece of scratch paper, and I like to practice stamping, and that turned out really nice. I just like to make sure that the stamp is going to stamp properly and I've got it mounted straight. We're just going to take advantage of this kind of whitish space here. It's got the speckles, but the red ink is definitely going to show up nicely. And we're going to just go ahead and stamp that down. Beautiful. Fairly easy to see, and all we need to do now is let that dry a little bit, and then we'll glue it right to the card front. While we let that dry, we will go ahead and glue this panel to the inside of the card. I like to use the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue because it gives you just that little extra wiggle room before the adhesive sticks permanently. So if you kind of get it like a little crooked like that, you get a second to maneuver it and to straighten her out. And it can even pop off for a second here. It's actually starting to dry on me. Okay, and there we go. I like to use my bone folder to kind of even out the glue a little bit, and then also it, you know, really gives it that good adhesion. So next thing we're gonna do is glue this on using the same liquid glue. You could also use snail for this or another adhesive of your choice. I do prefer this liquid glue for the wiggle room factor that I just discussed. So there we go. Beautiful. It turned out just beautifully. This is a simple flat card, easy to mail. Now, if you wanted to decorate the inside panel of your card, which I often do, you can stamp another sentiment in here that kind of, you know, says a little something more than just thank you. You can use some of the paper and kind of maybe put a strip here, a strip along the bottom, or stamp one of the poppies on the inside just to give it a little certain extra something. And maybe you don't like to write a lot in your cards, and you can fill up that space if you need to, if you don't enjoy writing, but you want to still send a card. Or if you're like me, I need this entire thing. So sometimes I will decorate it, but not if it's usually for me. I do decorate my envelopes so I can have a coordinated look. So that's the first card we made today. So let's go ahead and move on to our second card, which is a little bit more involved. It's basically the same card, but just stepped up just a little bit. So this time we're using rich raspberry cardstock, really beautiful, deep, rich purple color. We're gonna fold, this time I cut the paper in half lengthwise. So this is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and it's scored at 5 1/2 here to make a top folding card. Sometimes it's nice to do something just a little bit different, a little unexpected. So I decided for this card that we would make it a little extra for this one. So again, I have a panel for the inside. This is actually cut, oh, you know what? I didn't cut the Whisper White the same size that I wanted to for this, but that's okay. This is cut a little bit. The last card we made had an 1/8 of an inch border. This one has a 1/16 of an inch border around the paper. And I just wanted to fill this up a little bit more and have that border of that card color just peek out, but I really wanted this designer series paper to be the true focal because it really is just that beautiful to me. So before I stamp, I'm just going to go ahead and get this glued in on the inside, and we're really only going to stamp on this label that I have here that I die cut from that coordinating die set, the painted labels die set. Okay, we'll go ahead and spread that glue out, and really, I have some glue on my bone folder, so every now and then a little bit tries to smear off onto there. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab this label. This is the smallest horizontal label in that die set. Sometimes you get some little fuzzies that cut from the die cut machine. I tend to run my machine once and then back it, so sometimes it shifts just a little bit and you get those little fuzzies, but that's not a big deal at all. Okay, we're gonna stamp the sentiment in this Memento Tuxedo Black. I'm gonna go ahead and clean off this stamp that we just used, and I'm going to use the same block and put the happy birthday sentiment on this. I don't know about you, but the cards I tend to need the most are thank yous and birthdays. So let me go ahead and grab this. We'll put the thank you back and grab out happy birthday. I'm kind of a clean as I go crafter. I tend to get a little out of control otherwise. Okay. So, okay, that's stamped out nicely. Ink tends to stamp on the Whisper White cardstock a lot nicer than it does any other paper, in my opinion. For some reason, that paper just really welcomes the ink. Okay, and it spreads very smoothly and crisply. So there we've got our sentiment. I like how that turned out. It looks, I guess it's not perfectly straight, but for me, I have to say it is straight enough. And we're going to be stamping some splatter splotches on here that's included in this set. Oh, you know what? We are using the Painted Poppy set this time around. And we're done with this set for today. We're going to grab the Painted Poppies, and we are going to grab this large splatter. Put that on our clear block. Let's go ahead and close this up because we are ready to move on to our Poppy Parade ink. And what we're going to do here is we are going to stamp on this label, and because the splatter is so dark, oh no, look, I got a little aggressive with the stamping, and I got a shadow of ink on the surrounding rubber, not just the image. And it's a good idea to clean that off if you notice it before you stamp. Otherwise, your project could get a mark that you weren't hoping for. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get ink, I'm going to stamp it off, and we're going to do second generation stamping on this and just around the edges here. So there's one. Stamp off, and another up there. Beautiful. I didn't like the full look of this red. It's so dark, and with that splatter effect, it kind of looked a little macabre to me. So I decided to go with second generation colors on this time, so it looks a little less bloody. All right, clean that off because now we're going to go in with the rich razzleberry, and to keep consistent with what we're doing here, we're going to go ahead and do second generation stamping with this one as well. So, which means we're going to stamp off our ink. Okay, so stamping it off, and then look at that shadow that I was trying to avoid. That's a bummer. Those things happen. Because I'm trying to get this video done quickly, I'm not going to redo it. If I were doing this card for me personally, I would actually redo this. I'm really feeling like I should just flip it over and do it again. I'm just going to leave it for this one time. But if that happens to you, just flip it over and do it over. In interest of time, I'm just going to keep trucking along. I've already got 3 or 4 of these cards made, And I know if I were to send my mom this card, she'd love it and wouldn't even notice that mistake. You know how there's just some people that don't necessarily notice those things, and she loves me anyway and would love my card. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and take this scrumptious ribbon. This is the crinkled seam binding ribbon. This is part of the suite. And what we're going to do is tie a little bow around the bottom, and we're going to put it about an inch above the bottom edge of this paper. I'm cutting it off the spool to tie my bow. So what we're going to do is kind of move this over this way a little bit. There we go. Just quickly tie a bow. I tie my bow like I'm tying a shoelace, especially with ribbon like this. Got lots of Poppy Parade ink on my fingertips. I'm surprised I haven't smudged any of the paper yet. Okay. All right. So now you just fuss with your bow. The main part is getting it tied, and then as you fuss with it, press down the knot. It'll keep your bow a little bit more intact. Press down the bow, pull the strings, and then kind of tighten your loops up again until you come up with a bow that you're happy with. And I'm happy with this one, so I'm just going to trim the tails. Go ahead and get rid of those. The string, or the ribbon, is slightly looser than I normally like, but that's super easy to fix. I think I don't need to, though. You could just put some Scotch tape on these edges here, but I think I'm going to fix this by putting a glue dot underneath the knot, which is something I would do anyway. So I'm going to grab my take your pick tool, grab my mini glue dots. I think it's actually good to make mistakes while I'm stamping with you guys, so you can see how to fix them if you make them, because we all inevitably make little boo-boos here and there. So I'm just going to take that glue dot. You might notice I kind of rolled it up with the edge of my tool, and to make it into a little ball so it's not exposed, you can't see it under there at all. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to glue this panel to the front of this card base. I'm going to put glue on that ribbon. Okay. Now we are going to center this. That small 1/16 inch border. Looks like I'm a little too far left. Okay, so before I fully put this down, I am going to, oh dear. So remember how I said that that liquid glue gives us wiggle room? Look, I was able to pull that right up. Okay. This is kind of turning into a little bit of a fail. Okay, that's okay. We're going to make it. We're going to make it, you guys. And it's going to be okay. So that's good. Now we're going to put this with dimensionals up on top of that ribbon. So let me find my dimensionals. Here they are. I'm going to put, this is a small label. I'm just going to put one in each corner. We do not need to put one in the middle on this, because it's small enough that it's not going to sag in the middle when it goes through the mail. Just take off those release papers off of the dimensionals. And then we're going to put this up. I'm putting it a little bit above the bottom because I cut this little die cut out with the rich raspberry paper, and I'm gonna slip this right under here, giving this enough room, hopefully, to hit the bottom of the DSP, but looks like I put it down a little low, but that's okay. Your card will be better than mine. Okay, so just put some glue, small amount, so it doesn't leak out through the edges, and then we're just going to center it horizontally or vertically, I don't know, vertically, horizontally, with the bottom of the label here. Just push that over slightly, and boom, there we go. One more thing we're going to do is we're going to add a few sequins for accent. I like these matte black sequins that we've got here. I'm going to use my take your pick tool. And these are just so pretty. Some of the sequins are just your traditional cupped sequins and some are floral shaped. Oops, I need to take that lid off. Silly me. So here's a cupped. Let's maybe put one here. Let's grab a floral. Oops. It's not being cooperative here. We'll put the flowery one maybe right here. And then whichever picks up first. We got another floral one. So I think I'll put another one right here. Okay. 3, I like to use the design principle of working in 3s or odd numbers. Now you could use a mini glue dot if you want, and oh, we have little runaways. Set those to the side. You can use liquid glue, which is what I'm going to use, or you can use a mini glue dot and roll it up, whatever is your preference on adhering these types of things. I just like to use a small dot of liquid glue. I don't want to press that too hard. I'm also going to remove this pick here so it can help me in setting that down. I'm just going to use this end to press this down into the glue dot there like that. Beautiful. All right, and then I'm going to pick this one up. Another little dot of glue. Oops, got a little bit more than I anticipated there, but that's okay because it's a big sequin. And this glue dries clear, so no need to worry about that. And then the final sequin here. Perfect. I'm sorry about my sniffles, you guys. I have developed a bit of a cold this weekend, which is sad, but it could be a lot worse, so I'm not complaining. Okay. We'll set that aside, and now voila, we have our second card, which is pretty much the same as the first card, just stepped up with a little extra zhuzh here with the ribbon, that little delicate border, and these sequins. I love that card. I like the splatter paint kind of look to things. Okay, so our third and final card here is kind of fun and has a couple little techniques, but is actually quite simple. We're using the thick Whisper White as our card base, and we're doing the side folding card. So again, this is cut at 5.5 by 11 and scored at 4 1/4. We're going to use our bone folder to crease that down. First thing we're going to do is grab our stamps that we're using. We're using that outline poppy and the largest leaf. I'm going to put the splatter away. We're done with that. And I'm going to grab a block, stick that on. Grab this block. Will this one fit? Perfect. So first we're going to go ahead and start with our pool party. We are going to make our very own designer series paper. So we're going to randomly stamp this poppy around the cardstock. I think this ink pad needs to be a little bit re-inked. And I'm going to make a little bit of space in between because I do want to get that leaf on here. But notice I'm also stamping off the edge to kind of give it that organic, you know, random, meant to be kind of pattern. It would look a lot more intentional if you stamped it directly on the paper and didn't have it going off the edge at all. So we kind of want that random look. Okay. And we are not going for pure perfection here because this is a handmade card. We want it to look beautifully handmade. Okay, I think we're good here with that. I'm going to go ahead and clean these stamps off real quick. Get that blue off. And clean this one off. Or the pool party. I love that color. Notice that I always close my ink pads when I'm done with them. The reason for that is you're sure to meet disaster if you don't, in terms of spilling things in your open ink pads. Ask me how I know. I may or may not have dumped embossing powder, glitter, cards that were like darn near perfect and then wrecked because I dropped an open pad on it, or I put it away, or I didn't put it away and embossing powder blew into it. Good times. Okay, we'll stamp that piece in a minute. We're going to take these 2 pieces of designer series paper. The measurements are in the PDF, which you can get from my website at stampinwiththeresa.com. If you go into events and find Facebook Live, it's going to be archived there. You can also join my Stampin' Up group, which is Stampin' with Theresa, and I have a business page and a community group, and the community group is where you can go back to watch the replay of my Facebook Live from this morning, and also it will give you the link directly to where you can find this PDF on my website. It'll take you directly there. Okay, if you have a hard time finding it when you go to my website. So notice that I'm putting this a little bit skewed. I want this to kind of look a little cattywampus, just to give it some visual interest. Look what I just did. Got some glue there. Darn it. Let me wipe that off. It's going to be okay, everybody. All right. There we go. See, now it looks a little skewed. We're about 1 inch down from the top. Got glue on my fingers. I'm gonna, since I'm all gluey, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this panel glued right on here. We're gonna give this about 1/8 of an inch border around the pool party panel to the border of the card. And because I've got the glue on my fingers, it's traveling with me. Okay. Use my fists. I'm going to grab a clean baby wipe. Please bear with me so I can wipe my hands off. They're getting distractingly gluey. Okay, I'm going to teach you a really cool trick with our Whisper White ribbons. The neat thing about these ribbons is you can make them any color you want. You can color them with the Stampin' Blend markers. You can color it with our re-inkers, our actual ink pads, anything you want. Today I'm going to use our light old olive Stampin' Blends marker, and the reason for that is because I want it to be green, but the Stampin' Blends markers are alcohol based, so that means that they dry very quickly. So before I get to stamping on this final panel, I am going to color this, and we'll set it aside. It'll dry quickly, but I'll set it aside to give it a little bit more time to dry. That glue is still on my fingers. Okay. Stamping can be a messy sport. Some people call it a hobby. I view it as a sport. I don't know about you guys, but after a good stamping session, I've been sitting down too long. I'm pretty stiff and sore when I get up. My head's tilted down, but it's a good sore. It means I was productive. Then I just get up and do a little exercise, go for a walk, go to the gym. Okay, almost done. Now you'll want to make sure you protect your surface when you do this, because the alcohol markers will bleed, and they will bleed through a couple layers of paper. Okay, so this is practically already dry, but we're just going to go ahead and set that aside. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our sentiment that I wanted to use. The trick is, where did I put it? Here it is. I forgot to pull it up. My apologies. This is the Celebration Sending You Thoughts set. I love the sentiments on here and the font and the kind of compact size of it all. It's really great. And you can get this for free. In fact, the price is free. You can only get it for free. And how do you do that? It's Celebration right now through March 31st. For every $50 you spend with Stampin' Up, Stampin' Up will give you a free item from the Celebration catalog. I'll show you what that looks like here. And I definitely have more information about this on my Facebook page and also my website. So feel free to go check it out and see how you can earn a free stamp set, or a free designer paper, or a free punch or die set, or sequins and metallic Baker's Twine pack. There's a lot that they're offering in this year's catalog. It's pretty amazing. And the stamp sets are not like cut rate stamp sets. Like, they are really cool stamp sets. I really like them. Every year their celebration stuff just gets better and better. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this about an inch up from the bottom. Okay. Oh, that turned out so good. I don't even have to flip it over to the back side. Love it when that happens. Doesn't always happen. Okay, we'll set that aside. Close up this ink pad because, as you recall, if it's open, there will be a disaster. Okay, so now let's go ahead. This ribbon is completely dry, so we are going to go ahead and tie this around. We're going to double wrap it and tie it off in a bow. Okay, right down the middle there. And I'm putting the ribbon about an inch down from the top of this panel. Again, tie it just like a shoelace. If you don't feel comfortable tying a bow, go to YouTube. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos that show you how to tie a bow in so many different ways. It's amazing. For me, the shoelace method is my tried and true. And again, you just fuss with it until you like it by holding down that center knot, pulling on the tails until you get your loops the size that you want. And there, I like that. And I want to leave the tails slightly longish, and I want to pull this up just a bit. Oh, that's really tucked under there, isn't it? I guess between the glue on my fingers and how tight I got that around there. Okay, perfect. Look at, I keep leaving. The glue is finally starting to ball up on the tips of my fingers. I want these tails to be a little bit long, so I'm actually just going to trim this one and just a hair, so they're about the same length. Okay. Now another little technique I want to show you that adds kind of some interesting texture to a card, and it's just kind of fun and different, and it's free. No tools required other than your fingertips. It's called Torn Edge. And you just take it and just gently